Alright everyone, both of our main videos for the day that are going on YouTube involve Texas. In one sense, I have to applaud the state, and this is about this video. Specifically, they have defortified their elections, so now there will be a fair election in 2022-2024 in Texas. The attempt to cause shenanigans there won't occur because now voter ID has been instituted. There is a reasonable period in which you have to request mail-in ballots. You can't just have blanket mail-in for literally everyone regardless, because that causes problems. You can't sit right outside the polling place bribing people while wearing political paraphernalia and handing out sandwiches and things like that. So the Texas election has been defortified. There are a lot of other states that have done the same. Texas, of course, as a state that it leans red, but there are parts of it that are, they're more swing areas in and around some of the suburbs of Dallas and so forth. This is an important step towards making sure that the next election is not similar to the last one. And so naturally the Leftoids, who are hoping that it will be, are shrieking. They're crying with propagandistic outrage because they've tried to pass this off as voter disenfranchisement, as an effort to suppress voters. I'll explain why that's absolutely not the case. First and foremost, though, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment down below with links to 2 other video hosting sites that I use. Again, keep in mind I make 2 exclusive videos every day that don't go on YouTube at this point. Now, voter ID does not suppress votes. The only people who should be voting in any election in the United States are legal citizens, people eligible to vote in general, and people who are actually part of the constituency for which is being voted for. For instance, a person from Nevada does not need to be voting in the gubernatorial race in Delaware. The problem is that without voter ID, if a person simply gives their name, and you don't have to show that it actually is you, in theory, in some of the less cohesive societal areas in the United States, you could probably get away with voting in an election multiple times in a manner that would be illegal, even if you're not even from the precinct or from the state. This is the case specifically because there may be no one there that even knows their neighbor, so to speak. This really isn't a problem in rural America so much. This is more of a problem for the suburbs, the inner city, places where I would think the Democrats would be wanting to make sure that everyone's vote counts and counts equally and everything's fine, because that tends to be a big part of their constituency. Voter ID laws, further, not only do they just show the person's a resident able to vote in the area they're attempting to vote, overwhelmingly popular. Voter ID laws, the idea of having to show an ID to get a ballot, whether it's mail-in or not, is exceptionally popular in the United States. There is no single demographic that opposes it. Most demographics overwhelmingly support it by a supermajority. Even Democrats, a majority of them support having a voter ID law. The other more tangential parts of this have lower support. For instance, they've tried to cast off the idea of not having people handing out water and shit near polling places. Well, that's an attempt in urban areas to dissuade people from voting because the lines will be long. Well, the thing is, they can still hand out the water and the food and shit. They just can't be within 100 feet of a polling place. If the line's under 100 feet long, I don't see why anyone there, in the weather in November of all times, is going to sit there and have, sunstroke. It's just not going to happen. They can also bring their own bottle of water, but believe it or not, the Democrats may not realize this, but poor people do have water. Unless they're in Flint, which was, of course, run by Democrats for decades. For the most part, they have the ability to fill up a bottle and bring it to the polling place. Have a fucking sandwich or some shit like that. Believe it or not, poor people have air conditioning. Poor people have cell phones and shit like that. If the line's under 100 feet long, especially with the social distancing rules that they're trying to apply to all this horse shit, there aren't actually that many people in line. Well, yeah, you waited 20 minutes. I'm sure that your sandwich can wait. I know that some of the people, they'll be 500 pounds in a scooter, put some cheese in the back of the scooter and fucking bring it to the polling place and munch on that while you're in line. This is not voter suppression by any stretch of the mind. But the Democrats have tried to cast it off as this specifically because they have no legitimate attack line against it. The fact is, not a single eligible voter will be disenfranchised and prevented from voting because of the Texas voter ID law, or because of the law as it states that people can't hand out shit right next to the polling place. Or the fact that you're not going to have universal mail-in balloting. If a person is so paranoid that they're not willing to even register to get a mail-in ballot sent to them so they can vote from the comfort of their home, if they're so paranoid that they're sitting in their basement, avoiding all of society at this point, because of COVID or whatever, they shouldn't be voting at all because they're clearly a psychopath. So I don't care if they don't vote. In fact, I think they should be dissuaded from voting. The idea that everyone should vote is also a misnomer, I think, that our founders would not have supported. They would have said that the idiots and lunatics in society, generally speaking, would have been in the asylum. They wouldn't have been physically capable of voting. This was not considered voter disenfranchisement either. By the way, democracy is a dumb idea. Having a representative system is great. It is considerably better than the direct democracy the Democrats or the leftoid Democrats anyway, seem to want to devolve the United States into. Just another form of fucking tyranny. 51% of the population screwing the other 49, and then everyone suffers together, and then they blame the 49% and say that it was their fault somehow. This has happened before in various societies. I am very happy that Texas will have a fair election in 2022. Biden is breathing down these states' throats, but ultimately the states handle the elections by and large. I know that the leftoids can bleat and and shriek and poop their pants and jump up into tree branches and throw their shit at people like a bunch of fucking orangutans. But ultimately, even most of the liberal Democrats, like the Manchin types, they're not going for it. There will be no federalization of the elections, and the Democrats are likely to take one hell of an unholy pounding in the subsequent midterms. And the hope is that you have such a pounding that the current admin can be scooted out, the asterisk administration, and we can begin correcting things to make sure that what happened in 2020 never happens again, because there were shenanigans that went on. You're not allowed to elaborate on that topic on YouTube. Of course, if this were a new tech exclusive, you'd understand my real views of it. Let's just say that I consider him to be the asterisk president in name, that is a Beijing Biden. Defortifying the elections is the way to go. By the way, keep at it, everyone. At the local and state level, volunteer. Go door to door. Fucking do whatever you can. Raise money for a civic cause. Go take over the housing authority. Take over the school board. Get rid of the critical race theory bullshit propaganda that they're trying to instill as swill in publicly funded schools. All of these things are very, very important. They're just less flashy than a national election. Ultimately, though, this sort of thing is not even possible unless you've targeted local and state power. Then you can defortify the election and make sure that things are actually fair, that it is really one person, one vote, and only those eligible voting. That's about all. Peace out.